Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video where today we finally return with some more iRacing. Yes, 2023 Season 3 has kind of now begun, and of course as always we're going to be jumping in with the all new content. Today we're going to be taking on the first new rival to the BMW GTP car. Yes, the Cadillac V Series .R has joined the platform. I've decided to take it to Willow Springs as well. An interesting combo, I think, but let's see how we get on today. Well, I think we've all absolutely seen the clips online, haven't we, so far, of this Cadillac, of course, firing it off. Obviously, you know, the great thing with these GTP cars, just like a lot of the LMP1 cars that came before them, of course, is that roll-off on the electric power, and then suddenly their huge V8 motors fire into life, or V8 anyway, in the Cadillac's instance, of course. I've been watching a fair bit of IMSA this season. Obviously, I've been watching World Endurance as well. Very, very excited for Le Mans 24 this weekend, and very, very excited to see how this car gets on as well. There is a quick little tune-in to the engine sounds that I think a lot of people are going to fall in love with over the course of 2023 Season 3. Now, of course, this isn't the only new content that we're going to be testing out. Of course, there will be videos over the next couple of days taking on the all-new LMP3 car and the all-new Porsche Cup car, which I have my own thoughts and feelings about both those cars that I'm excited to share with you all as well. But yeah, today that we're going to be jumping in with the Cadillac. Now, obviously, Willow Springs, I've driven around a little bit before on a couple of other games, obviously, probably in more recent years, only really, actually, on the Gran Turismo franchise, of course, if you exclude mods from, you know, AC and things like that. So, yeah, I've not done a huge amount of racing around this venue, but, I mean, that's one lap already in the books, and you can quite clearly see it's not the most complicated track in the world. Very, very fast and flowing, hence why I thought, you know, it'd be good fun to take on in this car as well then. But, you know, as I mentioned in the intro, this thing will be going up against, obviously, the BMW GTP car, of course, the hybrid M1, or I can't remember the exact name of it, to be completely honest, off the top of my head. So I think there's got to be a lot of speculation about how those cars stack up against each other, of course. You know, in the next IMSA season, you know, are we going to see a lot of tracks where we've got pretty even splits? Is it going to be the one car absolutely dominates over the other? Of course, everyone has had a chance to try and get used to the BMW up to this point, but, you know, the Cadillac, I feel like is going to have its own separate audience as well. You know, I know both of them only really compete in IMSA, but of course you've got kind of a lot of, you know, the Americans, I'm sure, will be absolute fanboys of this thing, mainly for the engine sound, and then of course, yeah, a lot of the Europeans are probably still going to be driving the BMW. You know, the loyalties have got to lie somewhere then, but yeah, let's really start trying to fire this thing up. I'm obviously not going to really worry too much about like the hybrid technology and that kind of thing today in the driving. Of course, it is just sort of first-hand experience, so everything like that is just going to be left untouched, and we're just kind of going to enjoy this car as well. Now, Willow Springs, like I said, we'll do a bit of talk about that as well as we get used to it. Like I said, only really have driven around here on Gran Turismo, and all I can remember is the curbs are evil. I am aware they are kind of like that in real life, to be honest, so you don't want to be getting on the wrong side of those this season. Seems like a good track for iRacing to implement. I certainly have got no issues with it, but I can't help but wonder how popular it's going to be once again. There, you know, probably is going to suit, you know, maybe like the USF cars, touring cars, that kind of thing. Do I want to race GT3 cars around here? I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. I think anything quicker than GT3s as well is probably going to be a bit of a disaster. However, do think it'd be very, very popular with like Camel GT, the Lotus, the two old Lotuses, the 69 and the 78, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously the two on the sim there, and maybe even the GT1 cars. I know they like to take those to some older school circuits as well. So whether we're going to see much racing content from Willow Springs, only time will tell. But I think it's a decent little track, but more of a test venue, I feel. And yeah, it would not surprise me if a lot of people don't use it. Of course, you know, iRacing will probably go very, very heavy on its usage throughout 2023 Season 3. But then after that, if we see it fall off fairly rapidly, would not surprise me all too much then, as we're on our way in towards the final couple of corners there. Let's try and get... we're running balanced on the deploy, so I think we'll leave it there. Let's really try and sort of see then what this Cadillac is capable of. Of course, you know, it's got that dirty V8 engine, so it does sound very, very good in the downforce so far. Whoa! That's what I mean about how you don't want to hit the curbs. Don't go in the pit lane, thank you. A little bit scary there. Just for a brief moment. I mean, yeah, we're already running, you know, under 70-second lap times around this venue. It is very, very short circuit, and of course a car that probably well suited to a track like this as well. But I might try and do some comparisons between this and the BMW as well around Le Mans. Of course, you know, like we said, Le Mans 24 this weekend, so I think that would be quite cool as well. You know, despite the fact that... Ow. Yeah, despite the fact, of course, that neither of these cars, if I'm not mistaken, are going to be competing at Le Mans this weekend, of course, because motorsport games and licensing and all that good stuff that has been spoken about before. Of course, you know, we probably won't get access to, like, the Ferrari and the Toyota for a little while, to say the least. But, yeah, let's try and actually fire this thing up then. See if I can try and hit some consistent lap times with it, or at least able to extract a bit more performance out of the car. Like I said, maybe Willow Springs is quite a tight little circuit for it. You know, it's not the widest place in the world. You've got plenty of runoff as far as the eye can see in most places around this venue, but I can't see them announcing they're going to suddenly do a 6-hour IMSA race here anytime soon. And again, just nudging that curve. Let's try and actually go for a more sweaty lap, if you will. Tell you what then, just doing this first lap, immediately noticing a lot of big differences to the BMW. Number one, much, much better. Or at least it feels, you've got a lot more feel through the brakes on this car than the BMW has, at least on the default setup, so that's a really positive change. Number two, feels easier to drive, I'll be completely honest. Now, maybe it's just because obviously I've done a little bit of driving in the BMW, and obviously I've been doing a little bit more LMP2 driving as well. This thing feels, so far, quite forgiving in comparison. Don't obviously know what the exact pace will be like, so we're getting very, very close to the sand there. But yeah, this thing feels like it might be slightly easier for me to race right on the limit. Of course, the sound, understandably, I think we all knew it was probably going to sound a bit better than the BMW there. But it's even that sort of slide, you know, it's one of those satisfying cars where it'll fight around underneath you, but you can just like ring it back into line as well. You know, you let it have its fun, and then you go, right, calm down now, we're going that way. So yeah, very, very, I mean, I'm enjoying this so far. Very, very satisfying car to drive. Can I nail the final couple of corners again like I did last time? No, I can't. Is there a jump? May as well find that out. Yes, there is. So you can still do that, which of course I think very, very famous for a lot of people racing this track on various games there. The Willow Springs jumps still exist as best as possible then, but yeah, very, very different driving experience to the BMW. It feels more grounded. It's a weird thing to describe, but it feels heavier, but in a planted way. It feels like you've got a lot more downforce on the car. It feels, as we get some nice air, it feels, yeah, like a more stable race car, which I think is going to be really, really important. You know, if you are a bit lower I rating, and you're trying to, you say for example you've driven the LMP2s for a bit, and you want to take the step up into GTP. Now you've sort of seen all the good IMSA racing in real life, and you think, I fancy a bit of that action over on iRacing. Out of the two, at the moment, this might genuinely be, if you haven't purchased either of them, the car I could be tempted by. Now, that's not to say the BMW isn't a rewarding experience. The BMW may well still be a bit faster around a lap. Of course, it's going to take a few weeks, you know, to get setups dialed in with the Caddy and that kind of thing as well. But this thing feels like an easier race car, which I know for a lot of people, of course, won't be what you're after. But for me, if I'm jumping into like a 45-minute or an hour race, sometimes you just want to take the easier option. You know, it's a bit like in GT3s, driving the Lamborghini or the Porsche. They feel rewarding when you get them hooked up, but you're pretty much always trying to drive like within the limits to try and make sure that you keep them in check. Traction control, as I mentioned, works really, really nicely on this car. It allows that bit of slip, but doesn't also feel like you're bogging down too much, of course, unless you completely overstep the mark. And of course, we're kind of a bit lucky as well that Willow Springs doesn't have too many big traction zones. Pickup, though, does feel, obviously, once you stop using the deploy, definitely struggles when you go up into 7th gear as well, though. But I think, again, that'll come down to tuning and that kind of thing as well. Of course, you know, once we shift away from the baseline setups, you know, that I'm sure will very much change. So let's try and go for one big push lap then and sort of see what time we can get. A little cautious through the final corner, careful not to nick that curb and on the inside, but up towards the start-finish line then. This should be a big improvement down into the 103.63, so we'll take that as a decent lap time then. But yeah, feels like a more traditional race car than the BMW does, in my personal opinion there. But first impressions, I'm a fan. I think, you know, if I was able to pick today, depending, of course, on balance of performance and all that kind of thing, I would be very, very much more inclined to go with the Cadillac than the BMW there. But let me know down in the comments below, you know, are you going to be picking up this car? You know, are you going to be still racing the BMW? Are you even really interested in racing the GTP cars, or are you waiting for the Porsche and the Ferrari? And I think even the Acura has actually been confirmed to be in development as well. GTP, it's in a very, very exciting space in real life, and I think, you know, the same can be said as well here on iRacing. But yeah, let me know as well your thoughts and feelings about Willow Springs. Like I said, not convinced it's going to be the most popular track in the world, but it's a shame, to be honest, they haven't scanned some of the other layouts, because this would be a fantastic place to do a rallycross at. Can you actually drive down the middle of the circuit, or am I going to fall off in a second? Let's just wait and see. Got to test all the important stuff, of course. See if the whole inside of the venue is fully modelled as well. Looks like we can. Okay, that's good then. So you could definitely set up your own custom rallycross events if you were that way inclined around this venue as well then. But as that's just a shortcut back to start-finish line, of course. But yeah, let me know your thoughts and feelings on this car down below, whether you're going to pick it up, whether you've already picked it up, and how you're feeling so far. Like I said, we'll be back very, very soon. I'm going to be taking the Porsche Cup over to Aragon, the other new circuit that's come to iRacing 2023 Season 3. And I haven't quite decided where I'm going to take the LMP3 car just yet. But we'll be back very, very soon with more sim racing related content.